people said that they voted for Biden just because they don't like Trump. And even though the fact that he's not a competent human being, forget the beliefs and the left and the right side, not a competent human being, but just and I'm not saying Trump could be better because I'm not into all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
But the fact that you choose somebody just because you hate someone else shows that you don't even truly believe in that person.
The generalization is quite stupid if you ask me,
Yeah.
because you met, say a girl got heartbroken by 5 guys, right? You met 5 guys and then you generalize the whole gender. It's literally billions of guys. We could be a big love and family. Like, I dream of a world where it's like everybody is together, everybody is outside again having fun, and everybody in the community know each other and love each other. I dream of a world like that. I feel like the world can be like that if we just realize that we not separated, bro. We all in this together, bro. We need to stop fighting with each other and realize who the real problem is. Realize who the real enemy is. Realize who really is destroying us on the inside. Slavery don't exist no more physically, but it's slavery in the mind. It's manipulation in the mind.
Existence, welcome back to the show.
Hey, back again.
Hey, I'm glad you're here, man. So you're 15, right?
Hmm.
When when did you get into all of the spirituality stuff? Because 15 is a pretty early age in the United States to get into that type of stuff. So walk me through that.
So actually, I got into the spiritual stuff when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, 2020 is like when a lot of people became awoken. A lot of people start to question a lot of things. I think it's because this one YouTuber came out. His name is Spiritual. So this one YouTuber came out and he woke up a lot of people about the nature of this world. So it all started when I was 12 years old. First of all, my brother, he introduced me to like meditation. He was talking about like flat earth theories and stuff like that. But he introduced me to meditation. I started to meditate. Then it spread it out from there. Now where I'm at now. So that's what it started from.
Dude, that's crazy. Because I mean, I got into it somewhat earlier. I think when I started to get into it, it was when the whole COVID thing happened too, and I
Yeah.
was I was 16, I think. So
I think the COVID, the pandemic was the perfect time for people to reflect on life because we was in the house all day. So we could just dwell into our minds and dwell into the nature of this reality and stuff like that. We was just
right.
alone by ourselves in isolation for a very long time. So we had nothing else to do but be on our phones all day and just think.
Right. Yeah, it was a really dreadful time for a lot of people, a lot of adults,
Yeah.
for losing their jobs and stuff. But I feel like for people our age, it like you just said, it was the perfect time to find that solitude, to find yourself, to delve into topics and concepts and research things that you wanted to before, but you never quite felt like you had the time because you weren't really in school much, and so yeah, like you just said, it was a perfect time to
Actually, like,
get into all that.
it's a little bit of nostalgia for like 2020 and COVID and stuff for me because it's
Yeah.
like it was a crazy time. It's in the house, no school at all. That was heaven. No school, nothing like that. It was actually like a nostalgia, but it was bad for adults. Yeah, people was losing their jobs. It was a lot of supplies and stores just was like running out. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff going on at that time. But
Right, but yeah, I mean, everything has its ups and downs. So I
yeah.
wanted to ask you, how do you? There's a lot of hate going on in the world always, and it isn't seeming to get any better. How do you
Mhm.
think we can start to incorporate more love into the world?
How do you think we can start to incorporate more love to love? Firstly, the first thing to do is to love your. Firstly, fix your inner demons first, because if you hate a person, that means you got something within yourself against yourself. Like, for example, if you're very critical and judgmental on a person, that means you are very critical and judgmental on yourself. So to spread more love in the world, we first have to give more love to ourselves. We have to love ourselves more and fix all our demons. Like Michael Jackson said, you can't fix the world first until you look in the mirror and look at yourself and fix yourself. It all starts from your inner world. Everything is internal. Like, all change is internal. You can put makeup on, you can get cars, you can wear clothes, but that's not gonna change anything within you internally. You have to actually change it within yourself. So you will be very compassionate and very loving to people if you're very compassionate and loving to yourself, correct?
Yep.
So I feel like that's a good way to change the world. First, change your inner world first.
Yeah, because we can. I think so many of us put on this mask when we go out in public, and certain people act differently around this friend and then your romantic partner. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the brain and your kind of like inner self, your inner child, kind of eventually gets sick of that. So that when you're alone, it's kind of like you're just running in your mind, and you start to
Hmm.
question who you are because you're putting on
Yeah.
all these faces in front of different people. So it's like, all right, well, I'm acting all these different ways, but where am I?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of actually, I think it's a number thing. A lot of teens do struggle with identity issues because we live in a society where we live our life based off the internet, which means we live our life based off trends. So how can a teenage mind, their mind is still growing and expanding and their body is expanding. How can a teenage mind truly know who they are and what they want to do if they are constantly influenced by outside influences like social media and all these rappers and these big stars? How do you know what you like and what you want to do? You have to figure out you first. You have to go inside yourself, you know? There's too many influence on the social media and stuff.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Because it's, and yeah, getting sucked into that is the perfect way to distract someone from themselves. Because
Hmm.
I think that's another reason as to why we fail to find ourselves at this age, is because we're so distracted by the trends and we're so distracted by what everyone else is doing, so that we never take the time to sit down with ourselves and think, what do I want out of my life? How do I
Hmm.
genuinely feel about this situation? Because I feel as though so many of the feelings we have about a certain situation or person, and our thoughts and beliefs on these concepts, a lot of the time they don't even originate from us. They originate from whether it's our
Exactly.
parents or our friends, or if you're in school, your teachers or your professors. It's someone tells you this, and then you're like, all right, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So then you believe it, but you never take the time to sit down with yourself and think, oh, how do I really feel about this? Do a little bit of research on it, because some people are very credible, and you can take what they say as truth. But I'm always questioning everything and everyone, and I think that's a
Hmm.
healthy habit to incorporate, because don't, just because someone says one thing, don't take it as 100% truth. You can resonate with it, but do a little bit of your own research, do a little bit of your own insight, so that you truly know that it is your belief and not somebody else's.
If you really think about it, you said you always question things, right? If you really think about it, everything in life started from a question, correct? Because
Yeah.
everything from your chair, somebody thought about what if we had something to sit on from your phone? What if we had this device? Or what if we had a house to, or what if we had a car? All of creation started from a question. So if you don't question things, how can you truly create create the life you want around you? And another thing about it's a thing called subconscious programming because everything is in the subconscious mind. So all these beliefs that we have, like things like insecurities and confident issues, it come from your childhood. It come from that subconscious mind, and this is why it's so hard to get rid of. Because when you was little, somebody told you, "Oh, your forehead is too big," or "You're too this, your hair is ugly," or something like that. You didn't know that it stuck with you subconsciously. You didn't know that it was going to affect you in your adult life. Things from our childhood really does affect us when in our adult life. Like this is a real thing. So we need to reprogram our subconscious mind. The way to do that is to meditate. Because meditation is the perfect time to detach from your mind and become the observer of your mind because you're not your mind nor your thoughts. You are the observer. You are purely the observer. So truly observe your mind and reprogram it that way. You got to tell yourself different things constantly because the reason something get programmed into your mind is that if your mind hear it constantly and then they deem it as a truth and then it get embedded in your subconscious mind. So you have to create a different truth, create something different in your mind.
100%. Yeah. Dr. Bruce Lipton, he talks a lot about the subconscious programming, and he says that it's within the year one of you being born and through when you're 7 years old is
Hmm.
like the prime conditions where your brain is in a different brain wave and a different brain state, so that it's basically purely downloading programs into your subconscious. So that's why you notice that
Hmm.
babies are so observant, and if their parents or their mom does this, then they'll emulate that because they're downloading and they're learning everything. So all of that sticks with them, and then when you're older, it's not that you can't have new programs put into you by other people after you're 7. It's just that's the prime time. So then
Yep.
once through age 1 to 7, all those are stuck with you in the back of your mind. You don't even know it, and then that will affect the rest of your life. And like you just said, you have to, when negative experiences happen to you when you're younger, you have to learn to face those the traumas you have and change the way you feel and think about them, because if you don't, then you are going to suffer from it for the rest of your life without even consciously really
Hmm.
knowing that's the reason why.
That's very true actually because I got a 1 year old sister and I see her. she like mimic things I do sometimes. It's like, dang, I'm really programming her right now
Yeah.
in this moment. Like I'm programming her. But you know what's interesting about this is a different topic, but they said 1 through 7. 7 is a very prominent number in the universe. Like it's a very spiritual number. Like 7 days of the week, God rested on the 7th day. You get programmed from 1 through 7. I just wanted to say that it's a very spiritual number. If you look at the synchronicities in nature, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
another thing with subconscious programming, it's another example I can give people to understand, right? You ever ask yourself, why am I scared of bugs? Like, why am I scared of that spider? Because when you was little, you seen your mother or your mama told you, don't touch that. Don't be afraid of that. You seen your parents be afraid of that, or you seen your brother be afraid of that. Now subconsciously you afraid of that. Because you think about the babies, they don't care about bugs, spiders, they don't care. They gonna want to touch and observe everything, but that got programmed for them to be scared of it. Like when I have kids, I'm not gonna program them to be scared of bugs. I don't want them to be scared of bugs. Because I was scared of bugs. It's embarrassing to be honest. It's embarrassing. So I'm gonna be like, man, you want to touch the bug, touch a bug. You know, connect with nature. It should be a natural thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%, man. Because it's when I think there's psychologically speaking, I think in the psychology community, there's like there's few things that we are kind of born with. Like most people are born with like an innate fear of losing their mother or like falling. I think those are two things.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, like you just said, so many of those things that, so many people are afraid of bugs or so many people are afraid of spiders, it's because your parents or people you observed when you're younger were afraid. So now you're afraid too. And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like this whole subconscious programming thing, like it's kind of like hidden. It's becoming a little bit more like talked about nowadays, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
as though for the longest time it's just been hidden knowledge because that is really important information to know as a parent. So that
Yes.
everything you do, your child is taking in. So that if you try, so if you have some arguments with your partner or something, try not to have those around your child, and give them those like if you're screaming at your partner or something, you don't want them to see that and then have that
Mm-hmm.
affect them. But this stuff, it needs to be talked about more.
And when it comes to parents, right? I got something to say about parents because it is a truly cruel thing if you don't treat your kid right, because you are in control of their whole life in a way. You are in control of how confident they are, if they love the correct way, if they have abandonment issue. You are in control of all of that. So it's a truly cruel thing if you are not a good parent, if you are not a loving and nurturing parent. You have to truly nurture a kid like watering a plant every day. You have to do the same thing to a kid. Like I said, like you said with the subconscious programming, kids have to be around the right environment, because if they're around negative environment, then when they older, it's gonna be the same thing. Just like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, right? Like he might have already been a psychopath, but the things his parents was having him do, that could have led to more of him being that psychopath. You know what I mean? So like you have to do the right things as a kid and as a parent, so you can program your kid's mind in the right way, the correct way, because it's a truly cruel thing. I find that truly cruel.
Yeah, and it's a huge problem nowadays because, and I'm sure it's always been a problem to some degree, but I've seen so many other people's parents in my personal life, and just you read about this stuff online and stuff like that, and you
Mm-hmm.
know some of these people are just so neglectful of their child, and and then and some people have children by mistakes, of course, but for the majority, people, they plan to have the child, but then they treat it like shit and don't they don't nurture their boy or their girl, and it's like, why did you decide to have a child if you're not going to take care of them?
You
It just doesn't
know
make sense.
what I say is, this might sound pretty like cruel and negative, but if you had a child by mistake, abort the child, because he gonna have an even worse life. He gonna have an even worse life if you don't treat him right. Treat them right. Don't even have the kid. You just brought this kid into your life to treat him like nothing. That kid don't deserve that. That
Right.
kid is a fresh life, wanting to breathe the fresh air of life, and you treating them like they nothing, like they just like, come on now. Don't even have the kid if you're not gonna be a good parent, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite YouTubers, his original channel name was False Entity, but he changed it to Madhu Suna. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's pronounced right. I just had him on the podcast, and he's talked about in his videos, the reason like children are so, when they come out and they're born, they're crying, and they're like, it seems like because everything's so new to them, it's like you just burden this child with existence, and
Mm-hmm.
that's but in terms of that, it's like the child was in its mother, all warm and cozy, getting food and everything, and now it's out in the world. It's cold. You have all these unknown people around you, touching you and doing things to you, and
Hmm.
it's like, oh well, and you don't consciously acknowledge it, but it's like, oh, I'm here now.
It's a lot of things with the medical system in birth. It's a lot of natural things. You ever heard of water birth? A water birth?
Explain it.
I don't fully know the details of it, but I know of it. It's like basically, I think you give birth like in water, away from doctors and stuff. It's If you notice in this world, it's literally always a natural. It's always a natural thing to the synthetic thing. Like it's always gonna be something more natural to do. And I believe we actually supposed to do certain things this way, but they make everything synthetic. Like I said, it's the synthetic versus the pure world nowadays. You have to choose. Like you can't escape the synthetic world because everything is synthetic. Look at this phone, look at this computer, TV. But you have to choose the pure world over the synthetic in a way. You have to balance out the both because we indulge in the synthetic world so much, and we're gonna have synthetic side effects like that void you feel every day when you wake up. A lot of people feel that. That's the side effect of the synthetic world. You literally wake up, you get on your phone, you watch TV, and you eat like shit every day. Of course, you're gonna have a void when you wake up. You are indulging in a synthetic world every day. Go outside in nature. Eat good. Eat fruits and vegetables. That is life itself. That is life. Drink water. Water is life. Your body is like 60% water. That is life itself. So of course you have a void in your chest. That's a side effect of the synthetic world. You need to go to the pure world and feel what life really is. We forgot what life was. Like this is what life actually is. Life is not this. This is not life. Go outside and feel the purity of life.
Bro, 100%. I speaking of eating healthy, I for like the past week or whatever, I wasn't well when my breakfast wasn't healthy. I was having like muffins or waffles or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I felt a certain way, whatever, after I eat it. And then yesterday I woke up and I had a salad, and I went to
Mm-hmm.
the gym after that. And on my ride, while I was driving to the gym, I noticed my body and my mind just felt so much more in tune
Yes.
with just reality. And I wasn't really, because sometimes I can eat certain foods and I'll just feel like a lot of thing is, I still eat meat, but a lot of people who are vegans or who don't eat meat are like, oh yeah, like because after I eat meat, a lot of meat, I'll like feel like kind of tired after, like I can't do
Yeah.
any exercise
Mm-hmm.
after anything like that. But when you eat like greens and the fruits and stuff like that, it's just life. Because another thing I've heard about eating meat is you're eating like energy wise, you're eating fear, because most of those cows, most of the animals, like they're all running in circles as the farmers kill them and whatever, or the butchers kill them and stuff. So it's like you're eating that the energy that flows to that meat right before they die
Mm-hmm.
is pure fear and negativity.
Yes.
So that is what you're putting into your body. So no wonder you feel tired after and a little bit bleh. Whereas if you eat, plants, because you're not really just shooting a plant and killing it, it's so much more. I don't want to say it's not natural, because like lions eat other animals and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of, since we have the ability to choose between meat and greens, I'd say it's probably better for us to eat greens more than we eat meat.
It's death. Literally, like you literally are eating. We literally eat death. Like I eat meat too. Like I said, that we literally eat a death. After you eat meat, you feel like tired. Like think about this,
Yeah,
right? This is something we should question, right? The foods that we eat are supposed to give us the nutrients and vitamins essential for sustaining life and essential for us being energetic, right? So how come when we eat these foods, like these fast food, these meats, we feel the total opposite of that? Where is the nutrients? Where is the energy? This food is supposed to give me energy. Where is that? But how come when you eat them fruits and them vegetables, you feel very energized? You don't feel tired or uh like none of that. You feel very energized. You're supposed to get energy and nutrients from your food. We turn around and we neglect life and we eat death, basically. Like the
yeah,
fruits, the vegetables, the nature, that's life. The animals we killing and slaughtering to eat, that's death. We eating death, literally. Death and fear. That's what we eating. Low vibrations.
yeah, and that's something that we don't. I think most of us don't really take into account, which is something pretty important. And I mean, I've thought for a little while. Like, I think I want to try going vegan or vegetarian, just
Hmm.
just to just to try it and see how it feels.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then maybe I'll stick with it. Um,
Hmm.
go ahead.
What I was about to say, I went vegan for like 2 months before, but I don't know if it really count because I was still eating junk food. It was like in 2020. I was eating chips and stuff. That's all I wanted to say. I don't know if it really counted.
Well, did you notice you felt any different?
Oh yeah, you feel different. Like first of all, I was I'm an energized person in general, so eating salads and stuff, I felt good. I didn't feel drained or anything. I felt good. You feel good after you're doing it. You feel very energized. You feel like you're getting the nutrients that you need for a sustainable life.
Okay, yeah, I'll something I'm definitely gonna have to try. Another question I wanted to ask you: do you think time's an illusion?
Bro, before we did this podcast the other day, I was like, he probably gonna talk about time, ain't he? Because I knew I'm in the video. It's crazy. But it's time an illusion. It depends on the question itself. Like this how I look at time, right? Look at time like a circle, right? And the circle is the present moment, right? And then in that circle is the past and the future. Now you can go to the past, right? Say you can go to the past, you can go to the future, but you are still in that circle of the present moment, correct? So the only thing that exists is the present moment. Like you can go to a certain part out of space, you can go to a certain planet, it could be 5 minutes for you, and on Earth it could be like 15 years. Y'all are both in the present moment, just different aspects of the present moment,
Mm,
different aspects of the circle I'm talking about. So you go to different aspects of the circle. It might be the past, it might be the future, but it's still a present moment. And speaking on human terms, the past only exists in the realm of memory. The future exists in the realm of probability. When you thinking about the past, you thinking about the past in the present moment still. When you thinking about a possible future, you still thinking about that future in the present moment. So you can't escape the present moment. The present moment always gonna be here. That circle always gonna be that present moment, just different aspects of it. You understand what I'm saying?
oh yeah, well, yeah, firmly because when you ground yourself in the present moment, you kind of realize that a lot of the issues you have kind of go away because a lot of our
Hmm.
issues stem from thinking about the past and feeling a certain way about it, or thinking about the future and worrying about something or an event that's going to happen or a conversation that you have to have, and something about memory. So our psychologically speaking in the psychology community, they've discovered that most of our memories aren't fully accurate and are generally disaccurate. And what I mean by that is, you can think back to an event you hung out with your friend, let's say a month ago, and your friend brings it up in a conversation. You're like, oh, remember when we did this and we went roller skating? And you're like, yeah, I
Hmm.
remember that. We did this um and this happened with that interaction. And you might be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But in a lot of those cases, false memories are created. And
Hmm.
so it's not like you didn't go roller skating like you did, but certain specific aspects in that, some of them might be true and some of them aren't. Like one person, and because there's the thing is, you can firmly believe something and it can still not be true. So
Hmm.
in that moment, your friend might be like, oh, remember when I talked to this girl there? And you'll be like, oh yeah, because you trust your friend. But
Uh huh.
in reality, that specific, very specific interaction didn't happen the way that he
Hmm.
explains it. But you both firmly believe it because you were there, and it's like, oh yeah, that happened. But it's just an interesting concept I wanted to bring up.
This the thing with the past. I was just thinking, right? The past, like you said, the past might not be accurate based off your feelings because you remember the past based off of feelings. So if you felt a certain way about a person, that means you might have a certain memory about that person that's not true because your feelings is warping what that person actually is, right? Because your feelings can like blind you to what something actually is. Like if something bad for you, but it make you feel good, then you're gonna be blind to it's bad for you. The same with a memory. If you remember a person in a bad way, then the memory of that person gonna be warped.
Yeah, and it's very, and that's why people hold grudges for so long. And people like will have an experience with someone like 5 years ago, and then if someone that they know also knows that person, and 5 years later they bring up that person, they're like, oh yeah, they're such an ass, they're so rude,
Mm-hmm.
this and that. But it's like, you don't, like, the last time you talked to that person was 5 years ago. You don't know. And a lot of people believe all people can't change, but
Mm-hmm.
and in a lot of cases some people don't change, right? But you never know. Like, for example, someone who talked to you like a few years ago and has this perception of you. Like they don't know how you've grown, how you've changed, how your view
Mhm.
of the world has changed. So it's like they're comparing you to a past version of yourself that does not exist anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with that. It's all about those feelings. It's all about them feelings. You can blind a lot of truth, actually.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy how our perception with our feelings can warp the truth because we feel a certain way about someone, but in the back of our mind we know maybe they're not that great of a person, but they make me feel pretty good when I'm around them and stuff like that.
That,
And
yep.
and, and so it's also weird because there's multiple aspects of it. There's that aspect of someone can make you feel good, but they might not be right for you, and but the energy kind of feels right in the moment. But and then there's also those aspects where someone's energy does feel in the moment, and then they are good for you. And sometimes I think for a lot of people it can be difficult, and even times in my life it can sometimes be difficult to discern between the two because it's like, all right, well, they both make me feel good. But I think what it comes down to is when you're alone and you're by yourself and you think about that person in that
hmm
situation, how do you really feel then? Because that will be the indicator of if they're right for you or not.
Yeah, that correlates to like relationships. I absolutely hate to see people heartbroken. Like, I hate to see people getting their power taken away from them because of their feelings. Like, you have to actually analyze a person, right? Because you got to ask yourself, do I actually love somebody or do I just love the way they make me feel? That's why I'm with a lot of girls. They think they love somebody, but they actually only love the way that that person makes them feel. So I don't want to see
Hmm.
nobody get heartbroken. And a way to like stay away from that energy of a person, like somebody who is disloyal to you, who gonna just play with your feelings, right? Stop looking at that person as the prize. Because if you look at that person as the prize, then they always gonna have the power over the relationship. And if you look at that person as the grand prize, then what are you? You have to look at
Right.
yourself as a prize to her. You got to look at yourself as a gift to her, not in an egotistical way, in a pure way. Like she the prize to me, and I'm the prize to her. A balance, you know. You can just look at her as the prize because, or him as the prize because you giving them all the energy and all the power in that relationship, and they can easily end that relationship. They can easily control that relationship. They can easily manipulate you because they the prize in your eyes. They make you feel so good. They are beautiful. They are a beautiful creature in your eyes. They are a great person in your eyes. So they can manipulate you and they can play you and you never saw it coming because you see them as the prize. I don't want to see people get heartbroken because heartbreak is the worst feeling to ever feel. Like, so people need to gain that confidence within themselves to see their self as a prize to them, add value to their life, you know?
Right. And I don't think that's to say that if you're in a relationship for a few years and they break up with you something, it's not like you're gonna feel nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm right, I think your point is that not to let that the feeling of like, all right, they're gone now, to be a permanent next year thing where you're just constantly thinking about them and can't get over them.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
What do you think? What do you think about the whole situation nowadays, where it's like men versus women? Most of the men are all girls are like this, and all the girls like all men are this. And what are your thoughts on this situation?
I think everyone is getting manipulated because the main goal I see from the people who run this world is to divide and conquer. That's the best way to keep us in control, correct? Divide people and then conquer them. So it's so crazy how, firstly, we divide ourselves by race. We divide ourselves by race, right? And then we divide ourselves by religion. And now we dividing ourselves by gender. That is the worst of all. We are the first species to ever do this. That's the worst thing ever. How come we divide and the only race everybody is a part of is the human race.
Hmm.
That's what everybody is a part of. And we dividing ourselves with gender, religion, like bro, if everybody has come together and realized we all bring value to life, every single person has some type of value to this earth, right? Everybody, gender, race, everybody brings some type of value. If we realize that, then we could come together and unify, and we could be a big love and family. Like, I dream of a world where it's like everybody is together, everybody is outside again having fun, and everybody in the community know each other and love each other. You know, I dream of a world like that. I feel like the world can be like that if we just realize that we not separated, bro. We all in this together, bro. We just stop fighting with each other and realize who the real problem is. Realize who the real enemy is. Realize who really is destroying us on the inside. Slavery don't exist no more physically, but it's slavery in the mind. It's manipulation in the mind. Realize this manipulation, realize the slavery in the mind, and we can realize who is the real enemy here. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We
Yeah.
should come together. And with the man and woman thing, people be like, oh, are man and woman equal? Let's speak on energy first, right? Because everything is energy. Feminine and masculine is energy. It's not a gender. That's the first thing we need to realize. So, yin yang, dark and light. It's light in the dark and it's dark in the light. Yin yang is equal. Feminine and masculine is equal. Girl and boy are equal. Now, some girl and boys might not be equal because of their individual life, because of how society is. In society, it's a big imbalance between man and woman. Man can do certain things and woman can do certain things. It's a huge imbalance, but feminine and masculine is equal in the aspect of they balance each other out. So we could talk sexually. The man give the woman the sperm go to the egg, and the woman have the baby. That itself proves that man and woman are equal because them two together create life. That itself proves that we are equal. It shouldn't even be an argument. Of course we are equal. We
Right.
balance each other out. We're not equal in the aspect of, oh, man and women are equal in the aspect of like, oh, women are the same strength as us, or women can work jobs like construction work as us, be as strong as us. Of course we're not equal in that aspect. But we equal in the aspect of we balance each other out. We need each other. Imagine a world full of men. It'd probably be a lot of wars, a lot of fighting.
Hmm.
Imagine a world full of women. That wouldn't be balanced either. So we need each other to balance each other out. We just need to find that balance in the world again. What you
Right.
think about it though?
Yeah, I think on what you just said, a lot of the aspect is, and a lot of women in this case will say, "Oh, well, all the wars and stuff are generated by men," and I can't say you're wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
and so we're on that frequency of, men are most men are weak, becoming weaker and lower testosterone nowadays. But I'm talking about the guys at the top, very aggressive, very egotistical. You need more
Mm-hmm.
power, you need more control, and so those are the types of people. If we had different men running that running the world or running these countries and on a different energy, on a more positive energy, then things could be so much better, but I don't believe that's ever going to happen.
You know what type of leaders we need for this world? We need actual empathetic leaders. We
Hmm.
actually need a leader who actually care about people and better than the earth, not just about power and control. That's
Right.
the type of leader we need. We need a leader that's gonna come together with the people, not as its superior, as its equal. That's why I created a religion. Like I'm creating a religion as an equal, not as a superior, because we got this superiority complex. Humans got this. So if we had leaders that come together with the community and actually ask and connect with the people on an emotional deep level, then the world would be a way better place. But instead, we got power hungry people who just want to argue and fight and keep control and power.
Yeah. And speaking more about the men versus women thing, I think a lot of the time, and social media has played an absolute immaculate role in shifting people's perceptions and twisting stories. Um, but let's a woman will have one bad experience with a man. Maybe she said no and he still tried to go further or whatever it is, right? or
Mhm.
or one guy was just rude to her, right? And then she'll start to think, or she'll have a few experiences like that, right? And then she'll start to believe that all men are like this. And then for the men, oh, this girl won't be loyal to me, she's not caring, she's not empathetic, oh, I guess all women are like this. So on both sides there's huge flaws, and it does not help that everyone goes on social media and the girls go on there and go, all guys are the same, all men are trash, and then you see all the girls in the comments, oh yeah, I hate guys, blah blah blah, and it's pretty pathetic if you ask me. And it's like, yeah, you had a few bad experiences, and I'm not saying that those aren't valid, but you can't attribute, you can't blame an entire gender for that. And same with the
Exactly.
men. You can't, when you had a few bad experiences with women, you can't blame all women, because the fact of the matter is not everybody is the same. People have different personalities. People have different aspects in terms of caring. Some people are more loyal than others. Some people are more empathetic than others. It's about that's why dating exists, because people meet different people and are like, oh, I like this person, but I don't like this person, so I can go out with this person, but I'm not going to go out with this person. And so it's just, I really don't know what started it all as to why everyone seems to hate each other so much.
The generalization is quite stupid if you ask me,
Yeah.
because you met, say a girl got heartbroken by 5 guys, right? You met 5 guys and then you generalize the whole gender. It's literally billions of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Billions. You generalize billions of guys off of 5 guys. That's not even 1% of guys. That's nothing, literally. You didn't even meet 100 guys yet. You met 5 people and you generalized the whole gender. That's It's just stupid. Like, people don't think logical nowadays. A lot of and like, social media is the perfect place to indulge in negativity. Like, if you want to stay
Mm-hmm.
depressed, go on social media and watch depressing slideshows. If you want to stay with a certain opinion and spread more hate, go to the I hate man thing, and go to the being a player thing, and city boys, city girls. Go out. All that is on the internet, bro. If you want to have a if you want to bring negative energy into your life and a negative bias, just go on social media. It's the perfect place to do it. It's the perfect place to stay depressed. It's the perfect place to keep a negative bias. So,
Yeah, and so much of this stuff is like it isn't logical. But since so many people are doing it, or since so many people believe it, you feel as though you need to do it too. And that's the power of, when people value comparing themselves to other people so much, how much of an impact someone else's viewpoint on the world, or a certain person, or a certain gender, can impact your life. And then that goes back to you starting to believe things that aren't coming from you. It's coming from outside sources. And so much of this stuff is illogical. Like, let's just say someone who's racist, right? Let's say a
mhm,
white guy doesn't like a black guy. It's
mhm.
it could also come down to one of those things where they had this white guy had one negative experience with a black guy in his life, right? So now he thinks all black guys are bad, and so that is just one of those things that is very similar to the gender thing, where it's you have one bad experience with a person. Him being black has nothing to do with it in reality. It's just him as a person, but since he's black, you're now like, oh yeah, I don't like black people, and it's like this stuff just when you come down to reality, it's illogical stuff. It doesn't make sense. But since maybe someone else who is racist, so that affirms your belief as well, or your one
Mhm.
experience, and so this stuff just. And it's with race, with everything nowadays. It comes down to, if I have this one bad experience, I have to generalize everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's like saying, how like a lot of school shooters are white. That's like saying every white person you come across is a school shooter.
Right.
Let's say a dog bit you. That's like saying every single dog gonna bite you.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid. You just gotta make examples, look at it logically, and you will truly know what it is. Simple.
Right.
This
Yeah.
all
That
leads back
that's
to like, wait, this all leads back to like the separation that I be talking about. Like, if we just all came together, like I said, most wars happen because of misunderstanding, right? So we have a lot of disagreements and fights with women because we don't understand them, and women have a lot of fights and disagreements with men because they don't understand men, because we don't understand them, because we never been in their life. So most wars happen because of misunderstandings. Good and bad fight because of misunderstandings. I don't believe nobody is truly evil. A truly evil person is only a person who lack empathy. Like, if you don't have no empathy, then you evil, in my opinion. But nobody is truly evil. You have to understand their life and their backstory. And if we understand everybody's life, then we would it would be more love in the world, bro. It's just a lot of misunderstandings that's going on. That's the reason for most wars and stuff. We just don't understand. We just have to understand.
and that's the thing. People don't want to understand that's the huge
Yeah.
issue, because it's everyone views the opposite, or a different opinion than your own, as the enemy, and as I can't listen to you. But that's literally all we're missing, is wanting to listen and wanting to understand. Because maybe, let's take a political situation. If whether you're on the left or the right, you listening to the other person and why they believe the things they do that differ from your opinion. Maybe if you actually listened and heard their story and why they believe this, maybe you might not change your opinion, but you might be like, huh,
Mm,
okay, I at least understand why they believe this.
exactly. You might get a deeper understanding. Like, hey, I don't know. I still got my belief in my prerogative, but I understand them now. Like, I understand now. So that is the root of a lot of problems. You're right about that.
the world would be such a more beautiful place if we were able to do that, bro.
Why do we have such bad presidents and leaders? Why? Look at Joe Biden. Don't he be sleep? Like how in who in a right mind elected these people, bro? Like
Well, I think. God.
we don't ever have like just an empathetic leader who's actually for the people. Why have we never had a leader like that? Like a president. Like why have we never had nobody like that? Like I wonder, like why?
Mhm. I mean, I'm under the impression of, with all the government stuff, most of these presidents and candidates are kind of puppets. They're
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
that's true.
they're like, they're orchestrated, and they like, it doesn't matter if as much as I try to become a candidate for president, it's not going to happen. Or if it is, it's going to be a third party that nobody's going to
Mm-hmm.
vote for. Um, and so, you know, and so it's every, and people who are political say it too. Oh, I have to choose between the less of two evils, right? And it's like, and so for example, and when I say this right now, for people watching that are political are automatically going to believe that I like, let's, because what I'm going to say right now is a lot of people said that they voted for Biden just because they hate Trump, right? And so
Wow,
this, and so
bro.
the second I say that, people on here might listen and be like, oh yeah, now that means Brad likes Trump, and that's not what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And that's another issue is when someone says one thing, they start to assume other things that aren't true. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, people said that they voted for Biden just because they don't like Trump. And even though the fact that he's not a competent human being, forget the beliefs and the left and the right side, not a competent human being, but just, and I'm not saying, Trump could be better, because I'm not into all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you choose somebody just because you hate someone else shows that you don't even truly believe in that person. And I think that's just man, that's
That's
why the world is such in a negative place, because people apply that logic and that mindset to everything else in their life. It's not just them voting for the political candidates. It's like, oh yeah, let me just make this decision and choose this because it's whatever, right? People don't think deeply or what the consequences could be or what the outcome could be.
what we have to realize is you got to ask yourself if you somebody who voted for Joe Biden or Trump, ask yourself why are you voting for this person? Because you haven't watched none of Trump presidential debates. You haven't watched what he actually did for the United States. None of that. You only chose Joe Biden because everybody else is telling you Trump is a bad person. I'm not saying Trump not a bad person or a good person, but you chose this person based off what other people have told you when you haven't
Mm-hmm.
actually done your own research. And that's what happens when people get canceled on the internet. They automatically dislike them because they got canceled, but you don't actually know the truth about them. You got to actually do your own research and figure out why you want to vote for a certain person. You
Yeah.
voting for somebody, they got the hands of your fate. They are the leader of the United States. You got to vote for the right person. You can't just vote because you don't like somebody or because somebody told you, oh, that's a bad person. Honestly, I grew up thinking like nah, Donald Trump, yeah, you like Donald Trump, whoa. I never knew why I even thought that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just when my parents told me and what everybody was saying. I never knew even why I thought that. You got to ask yourself, why do you think a certain thing? Always ask why, because it could come from an outside source that's not reliable. So you gotta do your own research.
Yeah, and we keep saying that because it's like that's what we need more of. We need to think for ourselves and do our own research, because if we don't, we're doomed to what we are as a society now, which is just listening, not even listening, but listening to, just listening to the same thing over and over again. Like, you believe one thing, so you're just going to listen to that and other people who agree with you 100% of the time, instead of ever listening to somebody who might disagree with you, so that maybe you would change your opinion a little bit. Because there's been times, where I have this podcast and I talk to people who have all different beliefs and all different perceptions of the world and reality, and sometimes I believe something and I have a conversation with someone and they mention something I never heard before, and I actually listen to them and I'm like, I actually think that's true. Maybe I should look more into that. And then I shift my own perception of what I believe. So dude, the power of listening to other people is incredible.
People just be stubborn and stuck in their ways, man. People just don't want to change it, man. But I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Um, did you do that podcast with that dude yet? Because I saw on your Instagram story you said you was gonna do a podcast, like go on somebody else's podcast.
Oh yeah, I did that. That's it's his channel is Showtime IS9. That's
Oh, okay, I was wondering.
I don't. That's his YouTube channel and also his Instagram. I think the podcast is up on Instagram if you guys want to check it out, and if you want to check it out, yeah, it was pretty good because he asked me a lot of great questions relating to
how do you?
this.
I go ahead.
He asked me a lot of questions, relating to the men and women stuff, spirituality, how to elevate your life, all that good stuff.
I want to know, how do you even start a podcast though? How do you do that? I maybe want to start one day.
So right now I need to. I'm going to start working on getting it onto other platforms because most people have it on like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and stuff too.
Ooh,
Right
yeah,
now
that
I
sounds
just do it on
bro.
YouTube, right? But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, there's nothing super special that you have to start with. Like I don't want to claim that my podcasts are super high quality now, but if you look at my episodes now and the editing from my first episode, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell like the difference in quality and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take much, man. You put on a camera. Some people do podcasts by themselves. You have a guest on. You talk about whatever you want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Put it up online. Call it a podcast, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that if you want to start it, that's where you could start. That's where I started. I was just like, you know what? I want to start it, so let me just start it, and then
Yeah.
that's how it all started.
I'm definitely gonna start one though. I just wanted to
Dude,
ask you that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about the religion.
About the what?
The religion.
Oh, also Leviism. So this religion really going. I'm really going to really get more into this religion in the future when I got a big fan base. But now I was just introducing it to the world. It's very controversial. But
Yeah.
so basically, I call this a religion. So everything I talk about on my channel, everything you talk about, everything a lot of people talk about, it's basically just that. And I just put the name religion over it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
See how putting a label over something could totally warp your perception on something?
Yeah.
So it's basically about philosophical beliefs, about the beginning of how everything came to be. And I just want to be a inspiring and a good leader for people. Come to people as a equal, not a superior. Because the best way to inspire and like mold a mass amount of people is through religion. Because religion for thousands of years has always been the best way to like be a leader of somebody. But it's basically just a lot of philosophical beliefs, a lot of inspiring things, a lot of knowledge in this religion, also Livyism. And I just put a name over it, just put a label over it. It's like a fun, creative thing to do to actually inspire and help people's lives.
Yeah, when I saw, I think the first video you posted about it, I saw everyone in the comment section. Oh, what is wrong with you? You're just starting a cult, and they were saying all this stuff, and I'm sure you saw my comment. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're never gonna see someone hating on you if they're doing better than you. So it's one of those things where you're just doing you. You're doing what you want to do, and that's just the reality of life. Everyone's gonna judge you for whatever you do, so you just got to do it anyway.
They will see though. They gonna see though. It don't even matter. They will see. So it don't matter. Think about all the people who came up in the world today. It was so many people hating on them, I'm pretty sure. Look at them now. And all the people
Oh
that was hating
yeah.
on them, I'm pretty sure they regret it. I don't understand why people hate. Why hate when this could be a potential person who actually gonna be a good thing for the world? And then you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna regret it. Why hate, bro? Just show love. Even if you don't like what I'm saying or doing. Don't even comment, scroll and move on. Why send me negative energy? Like what is that doing? It's just satisfying your ego. That's all at the end of the day.
Right. One of my favorite podcasts was Chris Williamson. He's got like over 700K now. He's
Mm-hmm.
growing pretty fast, and he has some great guests on. But he when he first started, he had rarely any viewers and subscribers and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's gotten pretty big recently. And he told a story on one of his podcasts. He was on with David Goggins. I don't know if you know who that is. And he was talking about how he got a message on Instagram, and the message was a paragraph he said, I think it was five. You know how there's a character limit on
Mm-hmm.
how much you can put in a message, and it's like 1,000 words or something. So he said there were 5 character limit long messages, paragraph
Golly.
long. So it's huge. And he's like, all right, so what is this? He opens it, and it's like the guy's like, I don't know if you know who I am, but we went to high school together or middle school together, and I treated you like shit. I bullied you, whatever, and it's been eating me up inside because I'm seeing how well you're doing now, and what you're trying to do for the world. And he's like, man, I have a daughter now, and I don't ever want her to experience stuff like that. So and Chris also responded with talking about how if if him getting bullied and dealing with some issues because of that led to that guy's daughter being raised right to not treat anyone like that. He's like that. I
Hmm.
think he's like that. I think is a fine price to pay.
That just led me to something I said before. A lot of negative things, every negative thing always gonna have something good in it too. Like for example, right? Say on the news somebody killed themselves, right? A family grieving, they grieving, and then other people who want to kill themselves see that person who killed themselves and see how bad their family grieving, and then they change their mind about killing themselves because they don't want their family to suffer because they actually seen another family suffering. How it can impact the family? So that might change their mind for killing themselves. Like you never know what negative thing that happens to you could actually be a good cause for people. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it just goes along with the duality of life. You know, it's like there's good and bad within everything, and you notice that so many things there are the opposite. There are
Mhm.
one and the other, and one cannot exist without the other. Like what with everything that's physical. So
Mhm.
some spiritual teacher was talking about how everything has a front and a back, and I was thinking to myself like, wait, what doesn't what doesn't have a front and a back? Everything I know has a
That is
front and a
crazy, don't
back.
it?
There's nothing that has a front without a back. And that goes for
It's
like
true.
so many other realms of life. There cannot exist one without the other.
Mhm. But I wonder, do that only exist in this third dimension? Because think about the first dimension. The first dimension is just this. It's
Right.
not up and down. So is there a front and back to the first dimension? That's a whole nother type. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
thing though. But I wonder about that. I study dimensions a little bit. First dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. But I wonder about that. That's interesting.
Have you because I've heard there's different beings and different uh
Mhm.
organisms and different realms.
Um, Imagine this, right? So these are higher dimensional beings, right? Because they in like the fourth, fifth, sixth dimension. So imagine they came down to this dimension, right? We couldn't possibly comprehend them because we can only perceive the third dimension, correct? So we can see beings every day. Like, what if trees are from a higher dimension? We just perceive them as trees because we can't possibly understand what they truly are. We can't
Mm.
possibly perceive what they are. So we could be seeing higher dimensional things all the time, and we just would never know because we can't perceive it. We only perceive it in a third dimensional way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching a DC movie with the character Constantine, and he's like a sorcerer and stuff, and it has to do a lot with hell. And so there was a scene where there were people walking in a city, and then there were demons from hell like jumping in and through them trying to get them, but they're on a different plane. They're on a lower frequency and on a lower
The demons?
vibrational plane. Yeah.
Mm.
So like they're trying to get people jumping through them, but us as people, if that could potentially be real, we have zero perception of that. But in
Mhm.
in that realm, there's so much more, and so that leads the question, like so many things
Like, mhm.
here that might exist that we just cannot perceive.
Like, we literally would never know. Like, you ever get like a sudden like shaking in your body sometimes, or like a sudden? How we know that's not what the movie was talking about? Like, how we know
Yeah,
that's not something trying to like reach us from like a different realm and a different
right.
dimension? Like, we would never know because we can't possibly perceive it. But I believe if you open this third eye, you can see a lot of things. Tell a story.
Yeah. How do you so since you're 15, do you have like friends of yours that kind of think differently than you and kind of question, oh, why do you think like this and talk about this stuff?
I have one best friend, right? Now, he isn't spiritual like me, but he is a very open-minded person. So we can have some type of combos. But he isn't in the spiritual realms than me. So like I like teach him a lot of things in a way, you know. He asks me some questions and I teach him a lot of things. He don't be like, why you think like this? Because he an open-minded person. He not like a programmed person and a stuck in his ways, stubborn type of person. So he asked me questions, I answer questions. He not spiritual, but he not just a regular person either. So he open-minded
Right.
too. So yeah. I don't believe everybody's supposed to be spiritual. I believe everybody got their own life path and
Hmm.
their own journey. What you think about the movie? You ever saw the movie Soul on Disney?
Oh, dude, my
Oh,
friend showed me that because my friend is like, he's pretty spiritual and stuff too.
mm-hmm,
And he was like, "Yo, we gotta watch this movie," and I went over his house and we watched it. And
mm-hmm.
once I finished, I was like, "Wow,
Wow. I believe that movie, like, it got such a beautiful message. I gotta rewatch it again because I forgot a little bit, but I believe that's how it is with all the souls and all. I actually truly believe that's how we come to this life. Like, that's so interesting. And it came out in 2020. What's the irony of that? You know,
Hmm.
what's the odds of that? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Love that movie though.
yeah. So a big takeaway was that just like everything just is, and because like I think there were like some scenes of like, oh, like a person has to do this or act this way or whatever, but then towards the end of the movie kind of showed how all like the cat and like the main character and all these different people like I'm losing my perception of it because I watched it a long time ago,
Yeah,
but it was a very insightful movie. So you guys got to check that out.
yeah, and I'm like, it was one scene where he was like playing his music with his eyes closed, and he went into like a different. He was like in a different realm. I believe that's real life too. Like, you ever like play some music, or you do drums, right?
Yeah.
You are multidimensional. You don't make it very far. But so, like, you ever get in that realm where like your eyes closed and you just really in the flow with the music and stuff?
Dude, 100%. It's like the way I
Yeah,
describe it is it's like I'm in a different reality. Nothing else exists in that moment.
that's literally a different dimension. The movie Soul depicts it. Like, that's literally a different realm you be in. It's so crazy, man. So
Yeah,
interesting.
and it's beautiful. How do you how do you think people can start to increase their confidence in themselves?
How to increase your confidence. So, firstly, it's all about how do you perceive yourself, right? Because perception is everything. Perception is the reason that you aren't confident. So, what do you perceive yourself like? If you perceive yourself like a person who is sad and has no confidence and is ugly, then you will be a sad, low confidence, ugly person. But if you perceive yourself as a powerful person, as a confident person, then you will start to become a powerful, confident person. Now, this ain't easy. You can just perceive yourself different. Like, it's not easy. But like we was talking about earlier, you have to go in that subconscious mind. All of your insecurities is in that subconscious mind. Truly ask yourself, why do I think my nose is big? Why do I think I walk weird? Why do I think my skin is weird? It's something that somebody told you, or something that you saw and deemed as a truth in your past, and now it's affecting you now, and you never knew it affect you. Like, and you got to think about social media too. Social media kind of tells you to look and be a certain way, so that could have got programmed in your mind, and you don't accept yourself in that way. You know, you have to accept yourself. Acceptance is the most powerful thing in the universe, because if you don't accept something, then it won't go away. It's always gonna be there. Like, if you don't accept the negativity, then it's still gonna be there. It really don't matter. It's just gonna make your experience worse, you know. So, firstly, go in your subconscious mind and really dwell and meditate and realize where these came from. Where did this stem from? Where moment in my childhood, in my memory, where did this exactly stem from? Realize that and start to tell yourself something different, start to perceive yourself in a different way, then you're gonna be more confident. Like, for example, right? If you don't like your skin, right? Figure out why you don't like your skin. Well, I don't like my skin because when I was little, these kids used to bully me about how dark I was, and they was way lighter than me. So now I don't like my skin. So now you know where it come from. So you pinpointing where it came from. So now tell yourself something different. Tell yourself, my skin is very beautiful and I love it. I love my skin. It's very beautiful and it's very beautiful. I love the way it is. I accept and love my skin. Say you accept and love your skin. You have to accept it first. It's not going to change it. It's not going to make your skin more lighter, is it? So you have to accept your skin first. Say this every day because the words are very powerful. What you tell yourself is very powerful. Your inner monologue, all of that is very powerful. So you have to tell yourself these positive affirmations, and then eventually you will change how you feel about your skin. And tell yourself you're a confident person too. Because you building a shield from negative people in a way. Like, I'm a confident person. Can't nothing affect me. Can't nobody make me insecure. You got to tell yourself these things. You have to perceive yourself different. And then after a while, you will start to see the change. But change don't happen that easily, though. We have to realize that, like, it's going to take a process. Like, you've been programmed with this belief for years. So it's going to take a little while before you can reprogram your mind to perceive yourself different.
Couldn't agree more. Existence. Thanks for coming on again. It's been a great
Thank you.
conversation.
Yep.
Where can people check you out?
On TikTok and YouTube. My TikTok is existence1714, and my YouTube is I'm existence. Y'all can check that out. I'm gonna post a video today. And yeah, thank you for having me on here again, Mighty Brad. You're gonna make it very far. You're very multidimensional. You're gonna make it very far.
I appreciate that, man. We'll stay in touch. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace.